Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Perfectly Good Podcast, the only podcast on the internet where Sylvan and I discuss every John Hyatt song from A to Z. I am one of your hosts, Jesse Jackson. Sylvan, as always, is next to me, and we are fumbling for our keys to our car in this
Yes.
episode.
Yes. All the way down Broadway to the
Yes.
river.
Yeah, we are going all the way to the river. The river is used often in song writers, from Bruce Springsteen's The River. Jason Isbell on his latest album had a song about the river. John's joining the crowd, though probably before Isbell, but after Springsteen. Why don't you give us all the facts?
Just the facts. So it's track number 2 on the Eclipse sessions, which was recorded. They actually gave us the date each song was recorded, which
Wow.
For the record, John and all the producers that work with John, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love these little data points.
Sure.
It was recorded August 18th, 2017. And as some of you know, I'm sure the Eclipse Sessions was named for the fact that there was a total lunar eclipse happening over Nashville when this was happening. It is featuring Kenny Blevins on drums, Patrick O'Hearn on bass, and Yates McKendry and Kevin McKendry, guitar and organ. A little bit of more recent news, as I was kind of looking into this, I discovered that Yates McKendry just came out with his first solo album, and it is a beautiful traditional blues album that is getting a lot of great feedback from critics and the public. And in fact, just last week, it won recognition as the #1 classic blues album on Roots Music Report, and also is just doing fairly well as best blues album overall. So if you have a chance to go check out Yates McKendry, if you like John Hyatt, I'm pretty sure you're going to like him too. So sorry for that shameless plug.
No, that is great. We want to know that.
Yes. So yeah, I think that kind of covers the facts of the recording of the album. When we get into lyrics, this is a song that is very much tied to place. He's talking about dirty Nashville, and he's saying all the way down Broadway at 3 a.m. I spent a little time on Google Maps and actually started walking along Broadway. They have daylight pictures, of course, so I couldn't get quite the same feel that he's describing. But Broadway is a long road in Nashville that kind of twists from near the Ryman over the I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, Signacular Pedestrian Bridge, near the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, the National Museum of African Music, and it's about a block from the Country Music Hall of Fame, ending up in Music Row, and it also ends at the Cumberland River. So if you were curious as to what river it is the Cumberland, which of course John has another song, Howling Down the Cumberland, which is a beautiful song about a river. Interesting that he chose not specifically to name it. And I did quite a bit of searching. I felt like the phrase dirty Nashville was just out of my reach, that it means something, or it might refer to a particular pop culture comment or a particular time or something like that. I couldn't find anything. So I do know when they did the anniversary show at the Exit Inn, Nancy Hyatt referred to it as the dirty little club that we used to hang up for. So maybe it's just a phrase that the Hyatts use when they're talking about something that was a little unsavory for a time. But
as not necessarily like a dirty little, as down and dirty, not necessarily unsanitary.
Right.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, very nice. I did not have a lot of familiarity with this song. I've been listening to it. And it is, um, so far it has not spoke to me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Hmm.
So, and I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, it did speak to me, and it strikes
Okay.
me as one of those songs where John is trying to kind of step into the female psyche.
Okay.
And we can talk about that going all the way back to Pink Bedroom. This song really reminded me of a continuation or maybe just a different chapter in the story of the song As Good as She Could Be.
Okay.
It's a woman who's at the end of her rope. Goodness knows exactly what put her there, but she's just searching for something. How's she going to get through this night? How is she ever going to be all right? And that kind of uh, feeling that she's lost and she might end up at the bottom of this river that we're talking about, just like,
Hmm.
wrote it down and burned it. We're not sure if she was the victim of murder or something like that. I I like the mystery of it. I like that feeling of when you're stuck in a hard time and you can't quite see the past clearly anymore and you're not sure what the future holds, and it just feels like you're stuck in that place forever. That's the feeling that this song incorporates for me. And it's not a particularly comfortable feeling, but it's one that I can relate to. And it's one that, having a song to give me solace about, I kind of appreciated. So that's my case. Am I persuading you at all, Jesse?
Yes, you are. I now wish that we could pause, take a 5 minute break, and push again. Yeah, that is interesting. See, and I guess maybe I was coming from this, once again, the mandatory Springsteen reference, and anytime we do this. In his Western Stars album, he did a song, um, somewhere, uh, north of Nashville. And it starts, came into town with a pocket full of songs. I made the rounds, but I didn't last long. Now I'm out on this highway with a bone cold chill somewhere north of Nashville. So I was looking at this as someone who had gone to try to make his way or their way through Music Town. Um, so when I think of it instead as someone who's just maybe life, it does give me a fresh perspective. I did love the image of the 3 a.m. We have never done that in Nashville, but we have certainly done that in New Orleans multiple times, where we have gone to music clubs and have closed it down. And then you're walking, through to get to your hotel there in the French Quarter. And in New Orleans, I assume similar, there's still activity, especially if it's on a weekend. But there is that sense of loneliness and um, that pain. And so, yeah, now then you wonder, and then you've made me thinking, is the empty bottles only go so far? So is she trying to drown her sorrows? Is she thinking about a permanent solution to a temporary problem? We certainly know that John has discussed the subjects of suicide in the past, and it was a major factor in his life. So I don't know that what.
So just
Yeah,
as you were saying that, I was looking at the lyrics. Mama, don't you worry about me. Scribbled down with the fleur de lis. And I was stuck on the fleur de lis of like, what does that represent? And now I realize I probably don't want to know what it represents, because John has a way of
yeah,
using very personal details that can ooh,
yeah,
stab you through the heart. And very unusual for him to use a
yeah.
So
And
that kind of sticks out.
you
Uh,
could
uh, You
go
could
ahead.
interpret that as a suicide note,
Yes,
certainly.
like, Mama, don't worry about me. I'm no longer gonna be in pain. I
Mhm.
scribbled down with a fleur-de-lis, a flourish. A fleur-de-lis is the actually talking New Orleans, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But how's she going to get through this night? How's she ever going to be all right? All the way to the river, down to the bottom where the catfish moan, all the way to the river, Dirty Nashville. That's her home.
Mm.
And so if we continue, it takes cowardice and courage too, all the way to the river, to leave this town before you're through, all the way to the river. So once again, we did this last week. We have this week. There's a mystery. Does she find the strength to get out of Nashville, either literally or the dirty Nashville that her mind is at, to escape to a better place? Or does she, in her mind, take the courage to go to a better place by, and once again, I say that, a permanent solution to what possibly could be a temporary problem?
Those terms about cowardice come out for people who attempt suicide or commit suicide
Yeah,
also. That makes me bristle, to be perfectly honest. You know, but it's something that does get said a lot, that it's a cowardly act, that it's,
yeah,
passing your pain on to someone else and all those kind of things. Yeah, to leave this town before you're through, it takes cowardice and courage too. Um, that's some powerful imagery and some I think it's easy to listen to that and not think about what those words might mean, because they are just so um simple, but also really powerful. If you're like, wait a second, it's easy to casually listen, and then if you pay attention, it really takes a different meaning. So
and musically, and I know you and I both have talked about, we are certainly not,
mhm,
expert in talking music, but there is a tone to this that doesn't
mhm,
necessarily match the somberness of these lyrics. And I love it when a musician does that, right? That,
mhm.
yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Well, so I, in the process of trying to come up with a little snippet for our intro,
Yeah.
was looking at the sound wave of this song. And it's funny, for most of it, it's like really almost no variation in volume or sonic. And then at about 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes, 45 seconds, it gets really quiet. And I think it's that, and when you can see it visually, it's quite stark, that like there's all this blue and then all of a sudden it goes completely gray in
Yeah.
these uh, dips and valleys. So I was like, there is no way that as they are mastering this, they didn't see that. And that is an intentional placement of a lack of sound rather than placing the sound. So
Yeah. That, and then do you remember seeing him do this live?
I'm pretty sure I have, but again, this is a fairly new album. So
Yeah.
I haven't, and it was not long before COVID. So
Yes. Yes. That
not a
puts
lot
us
of
all the
live
way through.
performances.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, I love the down to the bottom where the catfish moan. That is
Mm-hmm.
a very clear line. Uh, uh, you know, because you can see that
Mm-hmm.
it's a vision that's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and like
Do they have Catfish and River in Nashville? I don't
I
know.
would think so. Yeah, they would, the South. And then um and once again, Springsteen has that line, like a catfish at the end of a line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So which you see it moving and floating. So, and catfish by nature are um bottom dwellers. They
Mm-hmm.
do at the bottom of the river.
They're in the
Um,
dark and they're picking up the stuff that the other
yes,
fish leave behind. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Um, wow. All the way to the river, that's her home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I now wonder, that because when you start thinking this, the picture,
Mm-hmm.
and I am right there with you, you have convinced me this is a mystery. This
Mm-hmm.
is our main character has been had some rough times and trying every last trouble on for size, that, and then to go to that, um, drinking hasn't helped, friends hasn't happened, and to go down there, and you could almost see the image now of her on a bridge or or a like a bank and throwing empty fists or beer bottles off as she's thinking, what does she do next?
Yeah, and gosh, it is. It's a novel in 3 minutes with a really beautiful melody behind it. So much going on story-wise in here that I hadn't really seen or heard before. Another thought that occurs to me is that, some of the songs where John talks about these issues have been covered by other people, but like some of them you almost can't imagine anyone else doing, or it feels a little wrong.
Right.
Like there have been covers of Crossing Muddy Waters, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's a beautiful song, but like
Yeah.
it's John's song, and I can't separate John from those
Right.
lyrics. If this wild theory that you and I have come up with, Jesse, is that this is a similar story, it's one that is told in a way that I feel is ready for someone to pick up and interpret as a cover. I don't believe there have been any covers yet, but I can really see someone deciding to pick it up and go in a completely different sonic direction with it, because there's a lot of room for musical interpretation in this too, I
Yeah,
think.
I could almost see like a female vocalist
Absolutely.
changing the tone, changing kind of the tempo, and having it that true bluesy feel, and almost like a torch song.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was thinking kind of
yeah,
similarly that like John's version to me is a person showing his sympathy for someone and care for
yes,
someone. A woman could record this and have it be an accusation that,
yes,
whomever, whatever that has driven her to this point, to this low point, is going to pay.
yeah. Um, and part of me is I have mixed minds right now, Sylvan. Part of me wishes we had done this pre, and then
Mm,
then like if we had had this session before and then listened to the song. But instead, I love the fact that I was up front, this one didn't speak to me, it's okay. And now then I'm not going to give it a 5, but I almost want to give it a really high number because I'm captivated by this story now. This
yeah.
short story is speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there'll be a short story or a novel that just hangs with you. When you read it, you go, wow, I can't shake this mood of giving it. So yeah, I'm really glad we talked about this one. And I will be tomorrow listening to it again from this new perspective. Good.
Uh, I am now really, really hoping that somehow someone hears this version and passes it on to a recording artist or a
Yeah.
musician who is going to
Yeah.
do the cover that just changes it up for us, because I really do feel like
I I
there's so much to discover there.
I now want Lily to
I was
next
thinking the
time,
exact same
right?
thing. Yes.
Yeah, like, hey, Lily, can you do this version? So
Right, right.
yes. All right. Any
Yeah.
final thoughts? Now that
Um,
get off the
I
ledge, people. We're gonna this will be happy.
I think saying Lily do a cover of this is the great final thought, but also
Yeah.
like people in comments, or give us feedback, give
Yes,
us your nominations for who should record this song,
that
and
would be
who could do it
great.
justice. Yeah.
Yeah, that is perfect. Yes, you can do that in multiple ways. Well, let's give our rankings,
Okay.
and then we'll give them how to touch us. So, okay, you get to go first this time.
Like you, Jesse, I walked into this thinking maybe a 3, but I can't give it less than a 4 right now.
I am right there with you. I
Mhm.
mean, I totally do. And I maybe we've convinced ourselves, but I just now then, like an onion peeling it off, I like, wow,
Well,
when I look
I
at
was
this,
thinking like John Hyatt's music. I
yes,
think there are very few people I've met. Betsy Hodges is an exception to the rule that most people like they listen to John Hyatt and say, yeah, that's okay.
yeah,
And then you listen to a couple more songs or you listen to the same song multiple times and then you realize like, whoa, that's not just okay.
yeah,
That is something special. So
yeah.
he can still do that. Who knew?
Yeah, that's great. All right, that sounds wonderful. All right, so you can, couple ways you can reach out to us. We do have an email address, perfectlygoodpodcast@gmail.com. We have a Facebook page. We are on Twitter at perfectlygoodpd. And I am on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. Sylvan.
Yeah, Sylvan Green Eyes on Twitter and Sylvan Groff on Facebook.
Yes, and we would love, we're posting these on our Facebook page, and we're putting them on John Hyatt fans. So please share this with someone. If you know someone who loves John Hyatt, tell them about the podcast. If you think someone might like John Hyatt, tell them, like if you've been trying to convince someone, hey, listen, 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 and they're like, oh, I don't want to, tell them, look, here's a way you can go through and hear two fun people, passionate people about John's music share. So please
Yes.
do that.
Yeah, and keep your eye on those areas so that when we have questions, we'll put them up and maybe you can give us feedback or we're looking for
Yeah,
people to come and join us.
absolutely. We are working on that. We haven't had a guest join us yet, but the door and is the chair is always open. If there is a song coming up, we are doing them in alphabetical order that you go, I'd love to talk about that. Let us know, and we will figure out how to get you to join us. Um,
Yes.
I think that's it. This was surprisingly wonderful. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Yeah, thank you for inviting me on this very long journey with you. I am enjoying every step so much. And as you just said, this was a step that I enjoyed even more than I expected I would. So
Absolutely. So take care, be safe, have a little faith.
have a little faith.
Bye.
Bye.